Hi, today I'm having a look at this. This is a Yamaha XVS 650 or V-Star, if you want to call it that. Yamaha changed the naming of it a few years back and started them all calling them all the V-Star range. So this is the V650. That's my daughter's bike. So I've just got it round, just been giving it a wee tidy up, a wee clean up, blowing the tyres up, checking the oil, etc. Got it up in my lift to make life a wee bit easier. So just having a look at this bike. This must be one, or it was one of the most sold LAMS approved bikes. So if you're not in Australia, LAMS approved means LAM's learner approved motorcycle. And this was, I would say this was one of the most popular ones because it's a big bike. It's a 650. Learners loved it because it's a full-size bike. It's got bags of power in it, you know, even though it's a 650. And it's probably one of the most modified Yamaha XVS's going around. But let's have a wee closer look. I'll take it off of this hoist. Let her down gently. I always shit myself when I'm doing this, because of my luck. Things never go to plan when I'm doing that. Right, and then she goes. So this is, my daughter's had this bike for a good few years, bought it brand new. Can't remember what year it was she bought it, but she bought it brand new. There we go. So let's have a look at the first of the Yamaha cruisers that came out. 1978 was the start with the XS 650. There was also the XS 750. So that was the start of the XS range. 1980 saw the 750 Special. Now that was, I remember that well, that was an absolutely beautiful bike, the 750 Special. You also had the VX 1000. Then in 1982, the year I got married, there was the VX 500 and they brought out the VX Z 1200, which was, yeah, a decent sized bike. 83 saw the XV 400 Special, again another good bike. And then in 1985 there was the VX 1100, the VX 1300, and the 1300 had a tourer edition which had all the panniers and stuff. In 1986 they brought out a funny wee bike, an XV 535. That was launched. I don't know why 535, but however. And then in 87 the 400 Virago, XV 400 Virago. I think that was the first of the Virago branding. And there was 88, they brought out the 250 Virago. And in 94 they brought out the XV 250S. So the XV 250S and the 250 Virago, the XV 250S looked more like the XV Cruiser that we've just been on, whereas the Virago looks like the sort of praying mantis type, you know, the chopper with your arms up in the air. 95 saw the XVS 1300 Royal Star. Now that was some bike. In 96 they brought out the 400 Dragster S. 98 was the XVS 1100 Dragster and the SRA 250, which was a Virago style bike, but it was an SRA 250. Strange. XVS 1100 came out in 99 and the XVS 250 Dragster came out in 2000. I think the Dragster, the 250s, were aimed at like European countries, you know, because in Australia you need a bigger bike, you've got bigger distances to travel. 2001 saw the Roadster Warrior 1600. Again, that was I'm sure that was the engine that they used in the MT-01. 06 was the Roadliner 1900 V4. That was a beast. That was a really nice big bike. In 07 came out the Raider. Now, yeah, I'm trying to think, the Raider. Yeah, that's right. And '08 was the V-Star 950 and the 950 Tourer. That was in '08. I think '07 the Raider was, it was called the Raider in some countries, and I think in Australia it was the Striker. I think that was the same bike. But then in '08 it was the V-Star 950. And then after that in 2013 came the Bolt. Now that's not the only years they were built, that was when these bikes started commencing being built. It's like the V-Star 650 was first built in 1997, and then it carried on till 2017, and then production just stopped. But that's the sort of range you've had, cruiser style with Yamaha, and they're all bloody good bikes. But I must say, the old Custom 750, I used to love that bike, always dreamed of having one. Who knows, I might find one yet for sale, you never know. Yeah, so my daughter bought this bike brand new. Her and her husband, at the time, they'd went away and sat their tests and everything, and decided to buy bikes. So she bought this one, he bought a bigger bike, and yeah, I think actually after she passed her test she had an FZ6, and FZ6, fantastic bike again by Yamaha. But then she moved on to this, the Cruiser, the 650, and her husband got the 1300 version. 1300 version was a beast. But even the 650, it's not a small bike, and let me show you. So as I was saying, this bike's no small bike by any means. It's a 650, it is learner approved, but look at that, it's not a small bike. It's actually a very comfortable bike. It's easy to ride. Like I say, it's got a fair bit of power for it being a 650. It's unrestricted because of the power to weight ratio. These cruisers, they didn't have to restrict the engines. So a wee bit modification to it, a change of exhaust and everything, it would make it perform a wee bit better than what the standard would. I'll just show you give you a quick show around the bike before I do any more. So here she is up close and personal. So there was 3 types of this vehicle. There was the Classic, there was the Custom, and I believe there was another version in the States. Geez, I can't remember what it was called now. This model had the spoked wheels on it, whereas the other one had the alloy wheels on it. I much prefer the alloy wheels because alloy wheels are tubeless tyres, and it saves a lot of hassle, really, you know, with punctures. But this is still more or less how it was when she got it. You know, it's still got all the seats on it, it's still got the, I forget what you call that, it's all to do with emissions control. It's still got all that on it. So she's pretty original. The only thing that has been changed is these exhaust pipes, and everybody changes their pipes. I think my daughter and son-in-law got these ones at a shop, and they put them on, and it's noisy. I mean, it's really noisy. It's not actually bad when it's ticking over, but when it's running, yeah, she makes a fair bit of noise. But she's a good bike. She runs well. She's very economical as well. But she's needing to use it a wee bit more or get out a bit more. I've noticed one of the shockers is starting to leak a wee bit of oil on this side, so I'll probably need the shocks changed on it. And a damn good service probably. Apart from that, there ain't much wrong with it. So let's talk about this XVS. I'm going to take it out for a ride and we'll see what it goes like. The XVS, the 650 V-Star, the first one was built in around 1997, I think it was, and they built them for about 20 years up to 2017. I think they stopped building them after that. So to pick one of these up now, I mean, when you go to the bike shop, you can't buy these bikes. They're very well, not hard to get a hold of, but they're a lot harder than they were, because you can't buy a new one in Australia anyway. I don't know if they still make them for the rest of the world, but yeah, they're very hard to get. So since all these line of cruisers have stopped, it's making it harder for people buying a decent learner approved bike, because this was, it must have been one of the best bikes going for a learner, I would reckon. But yeah, it's such a shame they stopped building it, but there's your emissions for you. Trying to keep up with this emissions law is just a bloody nightmare. However, let's have a look at this. I'll get the ignition on it. Ignition on. And now this has got a choke on it. So I'll just pull the choke out. Couple of clicks. Turn it back on. There we go. She ticks over absolutely beautifully. Anyway, let's take her for a ride and we'll see what she's like on the road. So here we are out on the XVS 650. I tell you, she doesn't feel like a small bike, you know, she's a 650, lambs approved, but she certainly feels like a big bike, probably more so with that bloody exhaust. But apart from that, she's alright. She's not been out much lately, so I'll just take it easy with her. That pipe's just a wee bit too loud for me, I think. I can hardly hear myself think over the top of it. Sounds cool. These people here, you come in, you know what they say, loud pipes save lives. Does it though? Does loud pipes really save lives? Somebody said to me a while ago, it's nonsense, of course they don't. How does loud pipes save lives? Well, you know, if I'm driving the car along the freeway and it's busy, there's a lot of traffic on the road, and I suddenly hear that roar coming up behind me, I look in my mirror to see what it is and where it is. Well, I usually know it's a bike, but I have a look in my mirror to see where it is, and I'll spot the bike and I can watch out for it. If you don't have loud pipes on your bike, then the driver won't hear you coming. Now I know everybody should be aware of their surroundings and everybody should be aware of what's behind them and when they're driving a car, but not everybody does, and that's why there's a lot of accidents involving cars and bikes. So if having loud pipes on makes that car driver hear you a minute or so earlier and makes him look round to see if he can see you, then is that not a good thing? It's interesting to know your thoughts on that. You can put your thoughts down in the comments as to whether you agree with that or not. Some people do, some people don't. You know, it's the same with high-vis vests. I mean, do they make you more noticeable or not? Certainly if you're following a bike at night time and the bike's away in the distance, first thing you're going to see in your headlights is this high-vis vest. You might see its back light as a tiny wee red dot, but you'll see the vest
So the vest does make you a bit more noticeable, but I think the problem was they wanted to introduce that as a law, and quite honestly there's enough bloody laws governing bikes and cars at the moment. I mean, you know, when a government can turn around and tell you what you can and can't wear while you're riding a bike, it's getting beyond a joke. It really is. You know, it's like all this nonsense about motorcycles. So take this XVS 650. I love the Yamaha, and I always swear by them. I don't own one at the moment, but I always swear by Yamaha. Every Yamaha I've had, it's always started first time. It's never gave me a problem. Most of the older Yamahas, like the cruisers, they're bare bones bikes. I mean, you've not got like ABS and traction control and all that nonsense. They're just bare bones bikes. You get on, you ride it, you enjoy yourself. Now that's fine, but now they're introducing all these regulations and laws into motorbike manufacturers about what's going to be allowed, you know, ABS and all that sort of stuff. So a lot of manufacturers, like Yamaha for instance, have stopped building some of their range, and unfortunately the biggest range they've stopped building is the cruisers. You can't go in and buy an XVS 650 or a 950, 1100, 1300, 1600, 1900. There used to be a huge list of these bikes, but now you can't get them because of all this legislation. They'd have to change the actual whole bike and introduce all these new features, and then all these new features cost money to manufacture and to design on the bike, and then the competition with other companies is, yeah, sometimes it's just out of reach, and then a company will sit there and think, well, hang on a minute, I don't sell enough to justify that, so I'm just going to drop that model. And that's more or less what's happened in Australia. They've dropped the XVS. I don't care what anybody says. I mean, you've got your Harleys and your Indians, you know, these big cruisers, which are good bikes, but the XVS, I think Yamaha range is probably one of the best cruisers on the road. They're trouble free. You don't get any problems with them at all. They just seem to go forever. Start first turn of the key, and yeah, great bikes. But however, we're at a loss now because they don't make them, all because of the regulations. When does it get to the point where we have a say? You know, there's supposed to be committees to set up, there's supposed to be committees set up, you know, to discuss all that sort of thing as to, you know, bike regulations and what's allowed on the road and things like that. And I often think the people that make all these decisions don't have anything to do with bikes. You know, government ministers sit there and make all these decisions, and none of them ride bikes, and yet they'll sit and tell us what we're allowed and what we're not allowed, and it's just bollocks, it really is. I absolutely hate it. But that's life for you, I suppose. There's not much you can do about it, but it's time we did do something about it. They go on about, you know, the environment, things like that. One of the best modes of travel to reduce damage to the environment is motorbikes. You know, if you're travelling into your main city in the morning and it's peak time and the traffic's nose to tail, and you're going to be late for your work as normal, you imagine if every one of these cars was a motorcycle, man, there'd be no congestion. Everybody would be scooting up that road and into their work, and there'd be loads of parking on the street. But no, they're not doing that, because, yeah, I don't know why, to be quite honest. Surely it would be more beneficial, or is it more beneficial for them to sell cars, you know, for tax, revenue, that sort of thing, than what it would be on a bike? That traffic light's a bit of the point of no return there. Yeah. So you wonder why they do that sort of thing, I don't know. But getting back to these bikes, yeah, the whole XVS range is gone now. You can't get them, which is a bloody shame. You can still get them online if you go to like bike sales or marketplace, things like that. You'll still pick up the 650, the 950, 1100, etc, etc. You'll still pick them up, but I've noticed the past year or so that the prices for these bikes are going up because you can't get them. They're actually becoming collector's pieces, some of them, especially like the 1600 Warrior, because yeah, there's not many of them going around. And the Warrior, I'm sure the Warrior was the one they used the engine out of that for the MT-01, which again, another classic Yamaha bike, and I used to have one of them and I loved it. I wish I'd never bloody sold it, to be quite honest. But yeah, the old Warrior, you just can't get them now. Can't get anything now. But I'll tell you, if you were a motorcycle collector and wanted to collect a range of bikes, it would be worthwhile going on to bike sales and buying up a 650, 950, right through the whole range, and having the complete collection and restoring them and keeping them for the next 20-30 years, because I reckon they will be collector's pieces. And I know that because some of them are still hard to get. Now what's going on here? This is a stupid bloody junction, this. You can fly up the inside and pass them, but you're always scared that somebody pulls out, which has happened before. I'll go for it now. What do you think of that noise? Unbelievable. But hey, this is a great wee bike. I mean, if you wanted a cheap bike for commuting with, this is the one to do it with. I mean, listen to that. It sounds perfect. Bloody speed bumps in the road, they're putting them up everywhere. So just about back at the house again. And there we go. That was a good wee run. So there we go. Yamaha V-Star 650. She runs beautifully. It must be one of the easiest bikes to customise. It looks good and sounds good, and as you see with me sitting on it, it's not that small a bike really. You can go up to the 950, 1100. I reckon if you wanted to carry a passenger around, you need to maybe go to the 1100 or upwards. But you can still pick them up quite reasonable on marketplace or bike sales. But just watch, because they're starting to go up in value. People are realising you can't get a hold of them very easy now. But yeah. So there we go. That's the Yamaha XVS 650. Nice to see an old bike reviewed for a change, and I'll catch you later. Bye.